Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to another MAMJ Let's Play of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. I think that's right, 999. Anyways, when we left off, we were exploring one room and we managed to get out of it, and then Seven found this bar area, which now we're stuck in here, so we need to find out what's going on. And I am gonna do my best to get out of this room. Okay, so we got a card. It's always good. Let's see. Well, will you look at that? Someone left a bottle of booze here. Don't mind if I do. Ah! Oh, that hits the spot. Feels like my throat's burning. Wow, he really drank it. We don't even know how long it's been there. He's a brave soul, I guess. Junpei, I found this on the counter. It feels like a playing card. We got 2 cards. Clearly the cards are important for something. Hey Junpei, I just found this on the shelf. A playing card? Another one. Is there anything on the back of them? I think so. No. Okay, just wanted to check and see. So nothing on the backs of them. Counter's pretty well polished, which is fine. Let's go this way. What's over here? Check out that stained glass. How beautiful. What? Huh? Stained glass is colored pieces of glass, placed together in a frame. As I've said many times before, I need only to touch it to know. I can at least discern the basic structure. You guys think he's lying about being blind? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? Wow, this place is like super amazing. What's this place for? Probably for playing Baccarat. Looks a little off though. Yeah. Look at the 7 on the middle of the table. I think I gave somebody the wrong voice. It probably was Snake. I don't know. Anyways, there's something mounted on it, see? The left? Or this? Suddenly, 7 began to speak. Ah, Baccarat. You ever played it, Junpei? Junpei shook his head. He'd barely even heard of the game. Alright then, how about I explain the rules to you a bit? See, Baccarat is kind of an unusual game. You've got the banker and the player, and the whole thing is that you guess which one's gonna win. And whether the banker or the player wins, all depends on their hands. The way each hand works is different from other games too. See, you take the number from the ones place after you add up the value of all your cards. Whoever gets the number closest to 9 wins. If your number's smaller than your opponent's, you lose. And that's it. That's the explanation. Got it? Well, actually, there's a lot more to it. Strategy, details, that sort of stuff. But what I just told you sums up the core game pretty well. The single digit of the sum of all the cards you have. The strongest hand is a 9, and the weakest hand is a 0. You just ignore the number in the 10 spot. Do you get it? He hadn't been asked for it, but 7's explanation, rushed though it had been, was helpful. Although he had only half understood most of it, Junpei now felt as though he had some grasp of how victory was won in Baccarat. However, Junpei had no way of knowing if the puzzle in the Baccarat table in front of them was made use of those rules, and if it did, in what way. No problem, he told himself. He would simply have to try everything he could think of. Feeling more confident, if only slightly, Junpei approached the Baccarat table. Do we have enough cards? What is that? I can see the playing card behind the thick glass case, the 8 of spades. Hey 7, are we really supposed to play Baccarat? It's a Baccarat table. What the hell else would we do? Stop worrying about it. It's real simple. What's the opponent's hand? Well, there's an 8 in that glass case. Alright, then that's your opponent's number. If that's the case, what 3 cards do we need to get that number? 3 cards? There are a couple of indentations with white lines around them, right? Those mean we gotta put down 3 cards. So? Okay, that's what I've gotta do, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Something tells me those aren't the only rules. Alright, let's give it a shot. Before I start, I better make sure I got the rules straight. There are 3 empty indentations, I just gotta pick a card and play it. I figure if I put them in the right spots, something ought to happen. Alright, let's give this a try. So, what? I don't... want to go too high, right? I feel like I'm gonna go too high with the cards I have. Because 4 and 5 is 9, which would beat them, but we don't... I can't really... But he said the 10th place didn't matter? I don't know. It won't even let me click anything, so maybe I'm not supposed to be able to do it yet. Alright, we'll look around a little bit more. I already looked at that. Yep. Probably means stained glass doesn't look outside. Okay, what about this? The chandeliers hang chandelier-like from the ceiling. Well, thank you. The description was very descriptive-like when it explained it to me. What's this? Slot machine has a pretty old-fashioned design. It looks well-maintained and probably still works. So I've got symbols for heart, spade, and diamond here. Can we play it? The coin slot. Yeah, okay. Maybe there's one that we can use or something? I don't know. Oh, what's this panel over here? Yeah, let's go over here. This panel. 9. It says 9. Yeah, looks like that cover's hiding something. If this is the cover, then maybe it opens up. Probably does. Here's the card slot. Looks like we need to put a playing card in here. Alright, let's give it a shot. What do we got? We have an ace, so we need 8, right? Which we need the 8 from the backrat table. Okay. So it would seem. I'm shocked and appalled that guessing at random has not yielded better results. Yeah, it's not at random. I need to win that backratness. Okay, this isn't exactly working out the way I expected. It's locked, isn't it? Is there a keyhole? If there is, I can't find it. Well, there must be some way to unlock it. Let's look around a little more, shall we? Alrighty, so I've got the slot machines, which I don't know what to do. Oh, this is all new. Okay, what's in here? There's firewood in the fireplace. Thank you. Well, at least this one isn't lit like the one in the first class cabin. Maybe that's why it feels a little chilly in here. There's a weird looking thing floating in there. Ew, does that do something? Wait, when those two lights turned on, I heard something from the bottom of the fireplace. What was that? I heard something down there. Oh, bag of money. Awesome, so now we can play the slot machines, right? I betcha. Alright, let's put the coins from that bag in here. What happened? I heard an odd noise. Well, to be honest, I don't know. I pressed some buttons and smacked the machine once or twice, but nothing happened. Oh, looks like the coins got stuck. Oh dear. They got stuck? Okay, next vending machine. Slot machine? Alright, let's drop the coin in the coin slot. Come on, you little bastards. I only need one of you. Spin roulette? Oh, I'm actually supposed to be stopping it. I don't know what you want from me. This is gonna take a minute. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go back to this one because this one's a tough one. And what's so tough, if I might ask? Hitting these reels just right. The timing is, well, it's not easy. I don't believe you need to hit them just right. Huh? So, yeah, that's what I was thinking is I think it's a puzzle. I don't think it's just luck-based, but let me see what's over here. Junpei, perhaps you should be more careful in the future. You got the coin stuck in the machine on the left. Please don't make the same mistake again. That would be bad. I know that. I'll be fine. Jerk. I'll put this coin in the slot and that'll show him. Huh? That's weird. Do you intend to lock us in here? It's not my fault. The coin just got stuck on its own. Oh boy. Alright, so we've made Snake upset. Okay, so there's a plate on it that says 2. 2? Main body of the slot machine, I mean, I know it says 2, but I'm wondering if it indicates anything. Main body of the slot machine, there's a coin slot on the upper left. Okay. Time to try again. Okay. So something... It's not hitting it just right. Ah, it's the order. I bet you it was what was up above the fireplace. 777. Yes, 777. And I think I hear something unlocking in there. Impressive, Junpei. It would appear to be unlocked now. There's something akin to a drawer in the bottom part of this machine, yes? That is a pickup drawer for the dividend. Probably the lock for the drawer got unlocked. Please open it, if you would. Heck yeah, I will. Ooh, we got a key and a card, I think. What is it? Is there something in there? Yeah, a playing card. And this. A key with the Venus symbol on it. Excellent, Junpei. Now, we will be able to open the gate. Then we just need to figure out how to get out of this room. Correct. Come on, Junpei. Hurry up. And he's off. There's a playing card and a Venus key. Better put the key in my pocket for later. As for the card... A 2. Okay, I think that's exactly what we need. Alright, I think we can beat the back rat thing now. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, before I start, I'm gonna make sure I've got the rules straight. I know the rules. We need to do a 9 is what we need. Because if we do an 8, then we match it, and I don't think it's gonna help. So we need to get a 9, which we have. Do the... Okay. The 3, 2, 3, and 4. Nailed it. Alright. If I just put down these 3 cards... Yes, open for me. Great, you did it, Junpei. I think it's telling us to take the 8 card. Come on, let's grab it. Alright, let's take this card. Awesome. The 3 cards I put down are stuck to the table. They won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Oh, that's okay, we don't need them. I just figured we might want to have them. But that's fine, I'm good without them. I think we needed the 8 and that was it. Looks like this is meant to cover something. I know. Let's do it. Okay. There we go. And in you go. Hey, all right, it opened up. It seems we have another device to contend with, yes? There are 3 slots on this one. Well, I only have 3 left, so let's see if it adds to 9. There's a 9 right below them. So that probably means we gotta make 9 with the 3 cards we put in the slots, right? Just like what we did over there at the back rat table. Alright, let's give it a shot. I don't have 3 cards. Well, Yeah, I don't have 3 cards, and I cannot make 9 with those. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Is it talking about the digital room? Don't you think maybe we don't have enough cards? Yeah, probably. That means there's got to be some more lying around somewhere. Okay, so where else have I not looked? Or there could be a card. Square table. It looks like a mahjong table. Do you play mahjong, 7? Maybe. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember a couple of hands and some sort of rule, so I figure I must have played it at some point. Excellent. Once we've vacated this vessel, I should like to play a game with you. Can you, play? So long as you tell me which tiles I am eliminating, yes. I believe I have at least enough skill to defeat an amateur. However, I must ask that you remove the red tiles when we play. Okay. Okay, so I need another card. Where would you be? Chandeliers hang. Yes, I know they hang chandelier-like. Thank you. What about this one? Same? Those are some strange-looking chandeliers. They look kind of like UFOs from that movie, Michelle's Farm Tools. What the hell kind of movie is that? This door is shut tight. Okay. I already solved this one, right? I think I find a card here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. You sneaky, sneaky little game. Alright, oh, there's my panel. There's the panel I need to go to. Thank you. Alright, maybe this will add to 9, because that's all I got. Aha! We did it! Alright, so I put all the cards we had left into the slots. What happens now? Is that? Yes, I did hear something from the exit. Excellent work, Junpei. Wonderful. It seems the exit is now unlocked. Let's go. Oh, let's do it. Sweet, sweet escape. Alright, let's go. We did it! And it actually didn't take that long. That's awesome. You found it. Yes, I did. My sanity. It's somewhere in there. Okay. Junpei and his companions ran out of the casino and into a large open room. A room, in fact, that they had been in once before. There was little to surprise them there. They already knew what their next step had to be. The iron gates still stood in place, locked tight, blocking the stairway. In the center of the gate was the keyhole engraved with the Venus symbol. This time, however, Junpei had the Venus key in his pocket. Wasting no time, he pulled it out and shoved it into the keyhole. He turned it. With the distinctive sound of metal on metal, he felt the lock click open. Alright, let's get this thing open. No problem, let me help with this one. Junpei grabbed the handle on the left side, and Seven took the handle on the right. On Junpei's signal, they both pushed, and the gate creaked open. It sounds as though you have opened it. We should be able to reach C-Deck now, I imagine. Snake, are you gonna be alright? I mean, the stairs. Please, do not do yourself the embarrassment of underestimating me. I would be unlikely to trip, even if I were running backwards. Good to hear. Let's move. At Seven's words, they leapt onto the stairs and jogged quickly down them. In no time at all, they found themselves on C-Deck. Junpei ran down the stairs a little farther, in hopes of checking the deck below. When he reached the water, he called back up to Snake and Seven. Just what I thought. D-Deck is completely underwater. Just like the bottom of the central staircase. The surface of the water below them was flat, like a mirror. That it had not changed too greatly since they'd last seen it was a great relief. Junpei quickly retraced the steps and headed back to C-Deck. In front of the stairs were a pair of elevators. They appeared to be identical to the ones from the upper floor. Between them, attached to the wall, was another card reader. And next to that was another strange symbol. Hey, check it out. It's a symbol for Lotus. What? See? It's got the woman symbol, and then it's got the devil horns, right? Yeah, I see it. No two ways about it. That was a pretty good one, kid. Seven tousled Junpei's hair in what he likely thought to be a friendly manner. Junpei feared his neck might break, even though it was clear Seven had kept his strength in check. Thankfully, Snake interrupted. After Junpei's close observation, he got over to examine the card reader. That is a Mercury symbol. The marks you mistook for horns are a stylized version of the wings and staff of Hermes. Wings and staff, huh? So, she beat you with the staff until you die and go to heaven? Sounds like Lotus, alright. Oh, I love Seven's voice. I hope it doesn't annoy anybody too much. Seven shook Junpei's head even more vigorously, and the younger man began to feel as though his brain was being jostled about inside of his skull. He began to feel rather ill. Unless we can activate this device, I doubt the elevator will function. In other words, we gotta find a keycard with a Mercury symbol on it. So I would assume. They decided to leave the elevators alone for the time being, and headed back to the stairs. To the left was another hallway. There was a great many doors lining both sides of the hallway. They seemed to stretch on forever, and all three men suddenly felt very small. Oh, we're not gonna have enough time to check all these, are we? Maybe we can come back here later. Let's check out the other side. They turned around and went back the way they'd come. To the right of the stairs, another hallway stretched out, reaching deep into the bowels of the ship. After a few moments of moving briskly down the hallway, they emerged into an area roughly the same size and shape as the one at the top of the stairs. On the left side of the room were 4 French doors. Well, let's open them up. Junpei nodded and grabbed the one closest to him. He gave it a small tug and felt it move. It was unlocked. Thrilled to have found another unlocked door, he threw it open. Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw. This is lovely. He simply stood, unable to speak. Seven's eyes opened wide and his mouth gaped. After a few long moments, Seven at last managed to speak. Hey, what is this place? A massive room stretched out in front of them, more a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on Seven and Junpei. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds. They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses. Is this a hospital? He at last had been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room. The room was full of the clean smell of antiseptic solution. In the center of the room were shelves stacked with medicine, and a number of medical devices, the function of which Junpei did not know. More importantly, however, on the back wall were 4 doors. 3 of them were emblazoned with large single-digit numbers, made with thick red paint. The door on the left was labeled 3. The second door from the left had no number, and the third door had been given a 7. The door on the right bore an 8. There could be no doubt they were numbered doors. It did strike Junpei as strange, however, that the door between 3 and 7 would be blank. What, he wondered, could it mean? Let's take a look at those doors. Yeah, good idea. The 3 of them threaded their way through the beds, toward the back of the room. Upon reaching them, they proceeded to investigate the door in turn, but to no avail. Oh, even that one's locked, huh? Well, that's just great and dandy. Yup, locked. Just like I thought. Naturally. After all, there are rules to the nonary game, and to allow these doors to open easily would violate those rules. Unless we can authenticate ourselves with the red, the numbered doors will... Whoa, check this out. Suddenly, Seven spoke up, interrupting Snake. Look at that red. There's nothing on it. Huh? Don't you remember the red back at the main staircase? If there wasn't anyone in it, it said vacant on the little screen. Remember? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. But this one... There's nothing. Right? You think it's broken? Only one way to find out. Junpei and the others put their hands on the panel, but nothing happened. The red refused to change. They tried pulling the lever and still nothing. As they soon discovered, it wasn't only the red door 8 that seemed to be malfunctioning. The red on door 7. And the red on door 3. None of them worked. What, they wondered, did it mean? They've gotta be broken. Man, that bastard. I don't think Zero's the kind of guy who'd screw around with something like this. Whoa. Zero's been prepared for everything so far. And you're saying he's gonna make a mistake now? Well, that's the only thing I could think of. This thing ain't working at all. While Junpei and Seven talked, Snake busied himself with examining the red. After a time, he lowered his hands and spoke. It seems as if some of the internal hardware has been removed. Internal hardware? That is what I said. Take a look at the underside of this red, if you please. Junpei obliged and bent over to look at the underside of the device. A long, thin slit ran along the bottom of it. As he looked harder, he realized it was more of a slot than a slit, and that was clearly meant to accommodate some manner of electrical device. The other 2 reds were the same. Something had clearly been removed from all 3 of them. I get it. So the reds aren't working because somebody pulled out their guts. So I assume. But why? And who? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. I have no idea. Why on earth would I know something like that? Just then, they heard the sound of a door opening. The 3 of them turned and saw Akane. Oh no, Junpei thought. It's June. She stopped short, surprised to see him, and was nearly bowled over by the rest of her companions, who were coming through the door behind her. Ace, Santa, Clover, and Lotus all poured out through the door, each of them as surprised as the last to see Junpei, Snake, and Seven. Junpei and Seven were, for the moment, at a loss for words. What are you guys doing? Why are you... After a moment of silence and surprise, everybody suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through, and how they'd ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. They were happy to simply see each other once again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the ninth man. No, thought Junpei. Perhaps that it wasn't. Perhaps the thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way. The ninth man had died. But they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the ninth man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive. This is bad, though. If the red isn't working, we can't keep going. What about that big hallway? Maybe there's somewhere in there we might be able to go. No, there's nothing there. The five of us had a quick look. There were a great many rooms, although none of them appeared to have held patients for quite some time. Patients? You mean all those doors for hospital rooms? Yes. Apparently, they have a number of individual rooms, in addition to this large central room. There was a door down at the end of the hallway too, but it's locked. It had one of those solar system mark things on it. It was the Jupiter symbol. Jupiter. I wonder what it means. Confusion seemed to be the consensus. That reminds me, what's the deal with this big room anyway? What is this thing? Was this some kind of huge passenger ship? No one, not even Snake, appeared ready to offer an answer, until Seven unexpectedly spoke up. I bet it's a hospital ship. In fact, it's probably the Gigantic. The Gigantic? Junpei looked at Seven, shocked by both his knowledge and apparent identity of their prison. He was not the only one. What's the Gigantic? Seven nodded to Lotus and began to speak. The Gigantic. He explained that she had been a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. The Titanic had two sister ships, who were identical to one another in nearly every aspect. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. She was initially intended to be a passenger liner, like the Titanic, but soon after the ship launched, the First World War began, and she was pressed into duty by the British Navy as a hospital ship. Sometime later, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She managed to run around after the incident, and consequently was not sunk. What then had happened to the Gigantic after her fateful encounter in the Aegean Sea? One theory ran that a man named Lord Gourdane purchased her. Lord Gourdane, it seemed, had been one of the few survivors of the Titanic tragedy, and that trauma turned him into an obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. As his obsession deepened, he began to desire the Titanic itself. That, of course, was impossible. The Titanic lay at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The Gigantic, however, had not suffered such a dire fate, and she was identical to her sister ship, and she caught Lord Gourdane's eye. So you're saying this Lord Gourdane bought the ship? Yeah, at least I think I am. That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old. Pipe down. Just pay attention. What? That's it? Well, have you got any proof? Proof? Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic. Well, this ship's got stuff like the Titanic and a hospital ship, so I just figured... Oh, for goodness. Don't tell me that's your only reason. No, I've got more. Like? Well, I mean, Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment, then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth. I don't know. Lotus sighed and shook her head. I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it? No, sorry. Then, almost as if to save Seven from future embarrassment, a bell began to ring from far away. It sounded as though it was a clock at the main stairway. Junpei counted each chime carefully. It's midnight. Then we still got 6 hours left, right? Let's just get moving. We gotta find that hardware the Reds are missing. That's all well and good, but where are we gonna look? Well, we've already searched the big patient room. They had been examining the room as they talked. But we haven't found anything. Right. Well, then there's only one thing left to do. Just one? Well, not just one. Well, wait a minute. Are you telling me we have to search all of these rooms? Well, you already checked some of them out before you came here, right? We each checked a single room, so 5 rooms in total. Alright then, that's 5 rooms we don't have to search. If we split up, it won't be that bad. If each of us can do 6 rooms apiece, we'll have the other 48 rooms cleared in no time. There are 48 other rooms? Lotus did not seem excited by the prospect. Seven fidgeted nervously before responding. Maybe? After some discussion, the 8 of them decided which room to begin with, and in what order they would go. Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft. They also determined when they would return to report their findings, the next time the clock sounded the chime. When it did, they would meet back at the large central room full of beds. If, during their search, any one of them were to locate the missing components, they were to yell for the others. If this strategy failed, they returned to discuss their options later. The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out onto the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However what? From far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m. Reading is fun. He jogged through the entrance of the large hospital room to find 6 of the others already there. Ace, Santa, Clover, June, Seven, and Lotus. They had gathered in front of door number 8. Or perhaps, to be accurate, they had gathered in front of the red next to the door number 8. Had one of them found the missing piece? What happened, guys? It was June who answered him. Jumpy, look. She was pointing at the red. He pushed through the others until he stood in front of it. It works now. Immediately, he knew what she meant. The display on the front of the red read vacant. Junpei sighed. Come on, guys. Who was it? I thought we were supposed to yell if we found it. Well... Junpei wondered why she was hesitating. The others looked as confused as June, but kept their mouths shut. What the hell? What is up with you guys? They all knew something he didn't, and Junpei wasn't about to leave things that way. Finally, Lotus frowned and spoke. Well, that's the thing. We don't know. You don't know? When I got back, it was already like this. There was no one else here. That means I was the first one back, but the missing parts were already back in the red. Junpei looked at the bottom of the red again, just to make sure. The slot that had been opened to the bottom was now covered with metal. Clearly, whatever had been missing had been returned. What about the other 2? They're the same. Junpei quickly examined the other 2 boxes. Interesting. Satisfied that they were also repaired, but still very confused, he returned to the others. Alright, I just want to be sure here. Nobody has any idea what the hell happened here, right? Ace and June nodded silently. Seven raised his hands as if to say, not me, and Santa just shrugged. Only Clover lowered her head and did nothing. Huh? Wait a minute. That was when he noticed. Where's Snake? Junpei swept his eyes across the room a second time, but Snake was nowhere to be seen. Does that mean that he found them? I have no idea. There's nothing to suggest it, but nothing to suggest he didn't either. I don't suppose we'll know until we can ask him in person. Well, whatever he did or didn't do, it's getting pretty late. What the hell is he up to? Maybe he's lost. Yeah, well, that seems likely. Dude can't see. I don't know how he gets around in the first place. Clover raised her head. No, that's impossible. Suddenly, she was shouting. Yeah, my brother's blind, but he's got really great hearing. He can get around as well as anyone who can see. So he couldn't get lost. That's impossible. Clover had started to shake, as if the knuckles of her hands had gone white. She spun around, but before she did, Junpei noticed tears welling up in her eyes. I'm gonna go look for him. The words were barely out of her mouth when she began to run. Hey, hold on, Clover, wait! Junpei cried out to her, but he was too slow. She kept going, and before anyone else could react, she was gone. What should we do now? Well, the red is working now. No, we're leaving two people behind. We should go look for them. Oh man, this ain't good. Oh yes, what an excellent idea. We just wasted a bunch of time looking for some piece of electronic junk. Now, let's waste some more by looking for a couple of idiots. Then remain here if you feel you must, but there's no time. We've only 5 hours left. Junpei and the others nodded to one another and took off in a run. In front of the stairs that led to B deck, they decided to split up. They quickly assigned search areas and each went their separate ways. Soon, only 2 of them were left. Those 2 were Junpei and June, who had been a few steps behind the others. Alright, we should go too. Yes, let's go. But where should we start? Let's see. Oh god. Casino? How about the casino on B deck? Okay, sounds good. They took off to the stairs at a run. Before they knew it, they were there. So was Lotus. She was leaning against the wall examining her nails. Hey, what do you think you're doing? She glanced up at him, unimpressed. Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for Snake. I'm just not seeing it. Really? Maybe you need to look harder. Junpei didn't think that was the problem. Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it? Sure. What is it? Well, I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll get right to it. Why don't we team up? Team up? Yeah. What, you need me to explain it to you? I'm saying, why don't we go through a numbered door? Even if we wanted to, that's impossible. Why? Junpei's bracelet number's 5, mine is 6, and yours is 8. Our digital route would be 1. But there's no number 1 door in the large hospital room. The only doors there are 3, 7, and 8. Then we add another person. Huh? Who? What? Isn't that easy? 7. She was right. If they had added 7, then the 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But, whoa, hold on a sec. What about the other 4? Why don't you add them up? Well, simple enough. The digital route for those 4 would be 1. That's right. And you know the number 1 door isn't in the big hospital room, right? Of course I know that. No. Are you saying we'd leave them behind? Of course not. What kind of woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? Then we wouldn't really be leaving them behind. Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you do anything of the sort. Really? Why do you think that? You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back to rescue them in less than 5 hours. Well, you never know until you try. No. You're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9. It is hidden, but an exit can't be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9. Yeah, that's right. The digital route for us 4 would be 8, so we'd have to add Ace to make 9. Right. Unless we bring Ace too, we'll be stuck. Lotus scratched the back of her ear. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei had said, nor did she seem particularly surprised. Well, let's try and find another way, okay? A way to get out of here with all 8 of us. That's impossible. Are you being serious? You do know that only 5 people at most can go through one of the numbered doors, right? The number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will get left behind. You're right. That is true. The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine. It was true. How Lotus could remain cavalier about such a terrifying prospect was beyond him. When they found the number 9, they would have to choose which 3 of them would die. Lotus's forehead furrowed. Do you think I could have a moment alone? There's some things I need to think about. Bye. Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus. Talking to her had left them feeling ill. Junpei's heart felt heavy, and his steps sluggish. But, he told himself, pessimism would get them nowhere. So he forced himself to smile and turned to June. Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay? Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later. Junpei nodded. Alright, where should we go next? The hallway with all the rooms. Let's go back downstairs and check out that hallway with all the doors. They took off at a run down the stairs. Ahead of them, farther down the hallway, they spotted Ace. Hey, Snake! Where are you? Answer me if you're there. Junpei paused. What did he want to do? Let's run to him. With June in tow, Junpei jogged to Ace. Hearing their footsteps, he turned to greet them. Ah, hello there. Snake is... well, that's obvious, isn't it? I assume you haven't found him yet either? Junpei nodded. I really wonder where he could have gone. Well, wherever he's disappeared to, we must find him as quickly as we can, for Clover's sake. Right. June's face looked kind of enraptured. By the way, do you think Clover and Snake are really siblings? Ah, why would you say that? Why would you say that? The question seems somehow odd to Junpei. Why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They don't look alike at all. Ace looked at him for a moment and then spoke. Yes, you know, now that you mention it, they don't. Now that you mention it. Still, there are a great many siblings who do not look like one another. It certainly isn't rare. Junpei wasn't sure why, or even if he was seeing what he thought he was, but he could have sworn that Ace's face tightened as he spoke. At any rate, we must really find Snake as soon as possible. The clock is ticking. We really can't afford to waste any time. Very well. Let's get back to the search, shall we? You can leave this area to me. Alright. Let's go, Jumpy. At June's urging, they left. They found themselves back at the stairs, but Junpei's mind was in turmoil. There was so much to think about, but no, it would have to be put aside for now. As Ace had said, finding Snake was their top priority. Junpei did his best to clear his mind. Alright, where should we go next? We already went to the casino, so we need to go to the cabin next and then we'll go back. Check out the first class cabin. Okay, I'm coming with you. They turned and headed toward B deck. Outside of the first class cabin, they found Clover. She was standing in front of the wall. She was staring at a meaningless point on the wall, her eyes blank. Are you alright? He did his best to sound friendly, but Clover didn't respond. Look, I know you're really worried, but, he could think of no words to say that didn't sound hollow and fake. Junpei hesitated. Clover was so consumed by worry and fear that Junpei feared it would crush her. Her actions didn't surprise him. She had suddenly lost her brother, who she seemed to be very close to. Lone. Her voice was thin and barely audible. Lone. Lone. I said leave me alone! Suddenly, she was screaming. You're so annoying. Just go away and leave me alone. Just looking at you guys is pissing me off. Go away, okay? Just go. Somewhere else. Stop bothering me. Junpei was taken aback. Such anger and hate. Jun's eyes had gone wide with surprise as well. Why are you still here? Didn't you hear me? Fine, forget it. If you aren't gonna leave, then I'll just... Alright, let's go, Jun. Yeah. They turned and left Clover. As they did, Junpei glanced back over his shoulder to see Clover wiping tears from her face. Clover had driven home the misery of their situation, but Junpei told himself that getting depressed would get them nowhere but depressed. For Clover's sake, they had to find Snake, and fast. He did his best to push away the misery and depression and forced a smile. That's it. Really, we checked everywhere. Let's head back to the large hospital room. Alright, that's probably the best idea. Together, they ran down the stairs. On their way to the large hospital room, Junpei and Jun noticed Santa, standing next to the number 3 door. Junpei paused. I'm gonna talk to everybody. Junpei and Jun walked up to Santa. What are you doing? What, can't you tell? Checking out the red. Why, is there something bothering you? What? It's not bothering you? Huh? This. The guts of the red. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in there? Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm curious too, but... Who do you think did it? Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at Jun. She shook her head. I don't know. Well, what about you, Junpei? Who do you think fixed this thing for us? Snake, Lotus, or Zero? I think Zero did it. I think it's probably Zero. Why? Isn't that obvious? He's the guy who set this whole thing up. You don't think that should mean the opposite? Seems to me like he didn't do it. I mean, who do you think took that stuff out in the first place? Probably Zero. Yeah, exactly. Then why the hell would he put them back after he'd taken them out himself? Just doesn't make sense. Why do all that work? So here's my theory, was he was waiting until everybody got grouped back together, but I guess that wouldn't make any sense because the doors really keep them from doing that anyways. I don't know. I don't remember what the proper answers are supposed to be. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So what happened then? Who put that stuff back in the reds? Junpei furrowed his brow. So, in other words, one of us is a person who fixed the red. Santa grinned. Bingo. We have a winner. But if that's true, then the person who did this doesn't want the rest of us to know they fixed the red. Yeah. But why? No idea. Maybe if they come clean on that, it means we find out something else. Something bad. Something bad? But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course. It could have something to do with Snake's disappearance. You think maybe they did something to Snake? It's not out of the question. Junpei stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Junpei wary. At first, he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever. But Junpei was beginning to think he would need to reevaluate that assessment. When Santa spoke again, his voice was quiet. Look, if you trust anybody in this game, you're gonna lose. You've got to be careful. The person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabs you in the back. With that depressing suggestion, he turned quietly and walked away. Junpei and Jun looked at one another and smiled awkwardly. We're done. We've gone everywhere. They looked everywhere, but that they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke. We can't keep looking for Snake. Wherever he is, it's not here. We need to get moving. Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point wasting any more time. The others seemed to have been having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, Seven spoke. We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. We've got to figure out who's gonna go through which door. Yes, I have a proposal. She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped. Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice? Sacrifice? Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams, 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams, 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind. Leaving behind people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. I don't know about that. Junpei wasn't quite sure what was true. Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2, and 1 person is left if we split into 3, 3 and 1. I got that part. You can't go through the numbered doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to be left behind? Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5, 6. Who's left over? That would be 3, 7, 8. What's the digital route for that? Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere. That was just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have the time. You'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3, and 1. When Seven spoke, his voice was strained. Then, you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind? Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves. No, that's too cruel. What's so cruel about it? To just sacrifice someone like that? Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1. That's not what I meant. We shouldn't sacrifice anyone. I told you, that's impossible. Wake up. Whoa, whoa. Calm down, you two. Send a step between Lotus and June. Look, what Lotus is trying to say is that you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right? Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote. What do you think? No, that's terrible. I'm not asking you. Shut up. What about you, Santa? Me? Well, I agree, I guess. Alright, that's 1 vote. Counting mine, that's 2. 7? I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die. Glad to see you get it. If I can get 1 more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover? Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body dropped. Junpei didn't know she even heard Lotus's proposal. Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow? Clover slowly lifted her face. Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice 1 person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right? Clover nodded once. The motion carries. Lotus spun around and walked toward Junpei. Now, let's start a vote to... That won't be necessary. Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice, or even care. I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes? Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything. June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her. June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself. Huh? I trust you, each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's optimistic, and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out. If we go through them, you won't be able to return, correct? Yeah, true. But that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship. What? Please, I beg you, once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally, within the time limit Zero has given us. No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time. Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer. We've only 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you? Then perhaps you prefer to stay instead of me. Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind. Ace's voice was dignified, and without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal. You see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go, quickly. Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lips so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against the wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace, with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others. Good. Let's accept his kind offer then. She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own. Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. Perhaps it's my age, but I get tired so easily these days. As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere, deep within the ship, Junpei suddenly heard a screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship were screaming. Would it really hold until the time limit was up? Already, D-Deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first. Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up? As if a spell had been broken, the others began to talk at once. You're right, we should get going. That's all we can do right now. 7. Seriously, honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk. You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Jumpy? Say something. Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way. His words sounded so hollow and fake. Fine, forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own. She spun around and ran toward Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled. Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here. Then it happened. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded half like a boxer out cold. Ace! June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up. What happened, Ace? Say something. She shook him, frantically. His eyes fluttered open. I'm all right. His voice was weak and slightly slurred. How are you? Fine. He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand. In it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label to the side of the container. It read, Sapporo Beta. Sapporo Beta? Junpei had no idea what it meant, or what kind of medicine it might be. Did you use this? Yes, it's just anesthetic. I'll be fine. Anesthetic? I found it earlier, while we were searching the hospital rooms. I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself. Why did you do this? Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am very tired. Junpei knew that it wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and Jun's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that he would be forced to leave them behind. Ace? Is there something you want to say? I'd just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down? No! Don't, Ace! Don't fall asleep! You feel warm. So comfortable. I think I'll have a nice dream. Ace's eyelids dropped further and further, almost as though he were dying. Ace! Ace! She shook his shoulder again and again, but this time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them that he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was, in fact, still breathing. He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity. Well, we really don't have a choice now. We can't let a sacrifice go to waste, right? She wasn't feeling any remorse. Junpei was sure of that. Still, he held no grounds upon which to oppose her. It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Okay, this is where we're going to leave this episode. Ace is asleep in the hospital wing. We have no idea where Snake is, and we have to press forward so that we can find a way to escape this crazy, crazy ship. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. There is only one condition which will cause it to detonate. That condition is that you enter the number 4. Once you have done so, the timer will activate, no matter who you may be. You will have 81 seconds. If, after that time, the detonator has not been deactivated, it will send a signal to the bomb in your body, instructing it to explode. In order to deactivate the detonator, every person who verified their number at the red must also verify their numbers at the dead.